Food substitution accent based diet scheme where it's not really a diet, but it's more of a way to have available options for, let's say, sweets and certain kinds of breads, so that you won't quite feel the need to overindulge, even though you may still use some sweets in your diet. And so I went through, and these seem to be a little healthier. These were a little healthier in terms of crackers or whatever they are. This is got like a dried quality to it, and I would suspect it's got, a little more health because it doesn't taste quite as sweet as some of the other, options out there. And then this is a really good value because these freaking fruit bars and nut bars, they're so expensive, but this was, reasonably priced. That's why I got it. And I've had this before. I don't know if it's quite as good as the Kind bars, which are really great, but again, they're just so expensive, and they're very small as well. But all of these fruit bars, they always have about 200 calories, which is, it's kind of a lot. It really is. But if you look at the nutrition, that's pretty good, looking at the vitamins here and a couple minerals. And I'm not so concerned with the fiber, because all of this stuff is going to have accents of fiber, which is what makes it kind of stealthy for a diet. It's got, the sugar, but it does have the fiber. So that's what we're trying to do, is get back to, like a nature's way of doing things, where it adds in all the ingredients, including the sugar, but it also has the fiber to knock it out of there. That kind of thought process. And these I just tried, and they're excellent. A few more oatmeal cookies instead of regular cookies, and I got these. Tate's makes really great cookies, and I like the Pepperidge Farm cookies too. But I think I would prefer the Tate's in terms of the oatmeal, because the Pepperidge Farm didn't have the thin kind, and the thicker ones I'm not a biggest fan. And if I'm going that route, I want to get my bang for my buck. So then, of course, you got a couple of disgusting fruits here from Walmart, made of plastic, but yeah, definitely good to have them as an option. You can reach for them for breakfast early in the day. You're not thinking straight. You grab a fruit instead of a delicious cupcake or something. So, anyways, what's going to happen with these is breakfast-based items will be made with these. They're multi-grain, blah blah blah, and they're going to have a little bit more fiber. And then this is also going to be for breakfast item. And I actually am going to make like some leftover sandwich material with these too, because these will have a dual purpose. And that's what it's all about. Accents and kind of pulling back a little bit from the density. So maybe, instead of eggs and this and that and that, it's just going to be, something more simple. Maybe throw in a couple of vegetables to help with the fiber component as well. Easing in on the fiber, you're not going crazy. And then pushing back on the portions as well, because the other thing with these things is you start to think you're invincible. So that's generally when the diet is about to fail. When you think that you can eat anything and it will be burned up, that's just when the diet's at its arch and it's about to drop, and you're about to forget all about it, and you're about to stay heavy, or whatever you're trying to do is going to go out of the circuit. So anyways, there's a couple. I always drink non-sugared beverages. I don't know how much healthier that is, because everything's just so chemically contaminated these days. But I really like the Bib lettuce as well, the hydroponic lettuce, because it does seem to sustain a little longer as well. Got some rye bread, got some eggs, which are always awesome for just about every kind of diet. Some delicious Walmart prep chicken. And see those hidden gems in the back? See, I'm making them less palatable doing that. They're in the fridge. They're not quite as amazing. Some vegetables here to add my accents to my diet foods. I'm always on a diet, man. It's like people think, I have I'm impervious to, the things that I eat. And I'm not. I have to, eventually I have to go backwards a little bit because I go overboard real easy. So that's the other thing is I don't eat 3 meals a day. I usually eat 2 meals a day. I eat breakfast and I eat lunch, which is my dinner. And this is very early in the day. So I guess you could say that I somewhat fast, but I do drink a lot of coffee during the rest of the day to kind of sate my appetite and keep my mouth preoccupied. And lately I've been also drinking tea, prior to going to sleep to help, back off some of the caffeine and some of the, substances in terms of all the gunk from the Cremora and all the other gunk that's coming in from the sugars and stuff. And one thing I'll mention about these is they have a lot of salt. And so what happens there is they do have this quality that does make you want to have more of them. Anything with salt, it's like something is like making you want more. So, that's a tricky little thing to do there. So, you have to still watch yourself. But luckily, my thinking is, this is something to eat either before breakfast before a meal, and then you're kind of killing your appetite. So you're killing your appetite, and that's one thing I learned. That it's actually doable. You can actually kill your appetite, because I used to do it all the time as a kid when my grandmother would make spaghetti sauce, and I would love to go and dip the bread like every good Italian boy. And so then the meal actually comes down, and I'm like, oh, I had so much bread, I don't want to do it, because the pasta sauce, the spaghetti sauce takes forever if you're Italian, and you do it the traditional way. So by the time the food is actually ready, you might have had a few snacks and your appetite's killed. So I go with the approach of killing the diet issues with kindness. And so you're adding all this variety here so that you'll have less opportunities to mess it up, basically. And the thing about only eating 2 meals a day, to get back to that, was it makes me be able to focus on what I've eaten. So, you can lose all the weight on your body. And they have all these things like you can't lose this weight, you can't lose that weight. But just think about like the people who starved for whatever reason, whatever circumstance, and they lost every friggin' drop of weight. They probably lost some muscle mass. They probably lost some, bone density or whatever else. But they lost every friggin' speck of weight. So it's doable, and that's one of the things that they get people down on. That they can't do that. Of course, it's doable, and that's proven by that fact. So keeping track of, the things that I've eaten using the 2 meal a day system. It's not so much that I'm fasting, because I hate the concept of that. That's one of the things you don't want to do, is try to mess with your brain to piss it off, and then you're back like gorging. But at least I know just pretty much precisely, like if I should push away from the table that day. Like, if I'm having a hamburger, and I know I'm feeling bloated from some previous day's food, maybe I won't eat the whole thing. Maybe I'll just leave a quarter or whatever. So that's another trick to gently, finessing your way away from that stuff, and then trying to instantly distract yourself into some other situation so that you don't just stay sucked in. Because, when you get older, it's food, man. You've had it a million times, and it really shouldn't be as addictive when you get older. Your taste buds are changing, all this kind of stuff. So anyways, these are just some random things about what CM Des is up to with his diet. Always on the alert, always keeping track of it, because there is so much processed food with the way that modern agriculture, modern industrialized food works, and so it's something I definitely have to keep an eye on, because we're all susceptible, at least the ones who weren't so quote unquote blessed. But I don't really believe that stuff about the people who have the perfect bodies, because 9 times out of 10 they have substance abuse issues, and so they're about to blow their whole system in a different way. So I don't buy it really. So that's why I just go with reality. And the reality is, you might get up to a body image that's about 85% of what you want. And if you try to go for that last 15%, you may blow it. So anyway, that's my spin on diets and what I do in particular. I was very heavy as a kid. I was 240 pounds. I did lose the weight. And then to keep it off was still very much a challenge, because once you get into those habits and those ways, it becomes a pattern, and obviously it's part of you, it's part of your soul. But when I moved to San Francisco, I started to really freak out in California because I realized like how good looking, the people who were trying to be musicians or the people who were trying to be actors and the people who were in my entertainment sort of field were. And like in terms of keeping themselves up and just in general over there, if they have a lot of money, then they have a better diet, they have better access to equipment, they have maybe a home gym, they have more leisure time to, make wiser decisions instead of being rushed around and then you go to Burger King and all this kind of stuff. So that's where I really cemented the idea of eating, just twice a day. And getting back to my childhood, so I was 240 pounds, but then I got down to about 155. And I've basically modulated around 155, 165, maybe capping it off at 170. Just when I start to say, hey, wait a minute now, I start to notice. And I'm still in around a 32-inch waist, but it's, I don't have an ideal body, that's for damn sure. But I'm at least staying somewhat fit, and hopefully I don't have any too many issues as a result of whatever choices I made with my food or whatever. But that's just a little bit about why I have specifically attempted all this stuff and what I've tried and what I think really did work the best in reality. I've never used a diet book. I know a lot of people who used all kinds of crazy diets, and most of them are very heavy. The best way to lose weight is really, you're starting to chisel away at things, and then the trickiest part of all is sustaining that chiseling, because in the 2-week period and in the month period, it's like everybody's excited to go on a diet right before summer or before spring, and then stuff happens, stress happens, you're not so excited, but you may have committed to some things. You got a fridge full of expensive diet food, and then most of that's going to rot, so I've been through just about everything with that kind of stuff. But anyways, once I finally lost the weight when I was younger, I've pretty much maintained the ability to keep most of it off. And like I say, I'm not trying to achieve that fitness look. I think that's BS. And I think that, certain people just, they really are fortunate, because once you sort of mess up your system, it's like if you break something in your body when you're young and you can still feel it all your life, just a little bit. It may not be too much agonizing pain. So that's kind of what weight's all about. It's like once you've broken that elasticity and your stomach knows what's up, you've set a new standard for your stomach. So anyways, that's what's up. It's doing a little dieting, just in general maintenance. There you are.